Do you struggle with being attached to people too easily? Or maybe you don't get attached at all. Do you even know your attachment style? There are 4 types of attachment styles, and it is very key for you to know what your attachment style is and to recognize the attachment styles of others so that you can just better navigate this life without being too clingy, being too attached, or taking it personally when others don't seem as connected to you as they are. Because that is something that we all may have struggled with at one point or another, where we felt like someone is just not as connected to us as we are to them. It may not be that they're just disinterested and then it creates all these insecurities and doubts. It may just be their attachment style. But before we get into all of that, first, hey friend, welcome to my channel, Crean Elude Mental Gems. This channel is dedicated to leveling up in all areas of your life. So let us learn together, read together, but most importantly, grow together. Now, without further ado, let's get into this video. So I am going to be reading about the 4 attachment styles from Psych Central, an article that was medically reviewed by Lori Lawrence. I'm not a medical professional or a psychiatrist or therapist, so I definitely wanted to read based off of professionals with the 4 types, okay? There's secure, avoidant, anxious, and disorganized. These are the types of attachment styles, okay? An attachment theory outlines how your bond with your primary caregivers set the foundation for how you navigate relationships throughout life. The theory states that the primary goal of a human infant is to maintain proximity to its caregiver, which was necessary for survival during our evolution. It believes that because of this evolution, infants and toddlers were monitoring their parents to see what strategies would allow them to stay close. So how does this relate to your adulthood, dating, relationships, and friendships? We unconsciously expect our romantic partner to act as our parents did, and therefore we act in certain ways due to these expectations. And there is hope. If you don't like an attachment style that you have, you can change your attachment styles, okay, as you get older, regardless of your primary relationships with your parents. The most important takeaway is realizing that someone can change from an insecure attachment style and develop healthy and secure bonds in future relationships. But what's a secure attachment, which is the first one? Secure attachment is defined by an ability to build healthy, long-lasting relationships. Secure attachment is the result of feeling secure with your caregiver from childhood and being able to ask for reassurance or validation without punishment. These are the healthy people. This is what we all should strive to be like. Ultimately, you felt safe, understood, comforted, and valued during your early interaction. Your caregivers were probably emotionally available and aware of their own emotions and behaviors. Hence, children model, imitate secure attachments as well as receive it from their caregivers. Signs of a secure attachment style includes the ability to regulate your emotions. If someone can regulate their emotions, they're not easily, annoyed, they're kind of balanced, they're neutral with things, they don't jump to extremes. Next is easily trusting others. These people have no issues with trust. They don't have trust issues, basically. They're very trusting, open, and friendly people. And of course, effective communication skills. They know how to communicate. They don't give like the silent treatment, the cold shoulder. They express themselves very effectively when there's an issue. But these people tend to just... they have it together, right? Next is the ability to seek emotional support. So they know how to receive help and not necessarily reject it when they need help. And these people tend to be comfortable with therapy and stuff like that too. They're open to discussing things about mental health, etc. Next is comfortable being alone. This is one of the biggest signs. And I do believe that, as adults, the more we heal, the more we read books, go to therapy, get closer to God, all of that, we do tend to start to get this attachment style, because this is Kareen. But I'll probably tell you which one I'm most related to. Pre-healing, toxic Kareen. But this is healed Kareen right here, because I'm very comfortable with being alone. But I do know there was a time I could not. There was a time I couldn't even go to the bathroom by myself. I had to go with my sister, my older sister, literally in the same house. And it was like that up until I would be 12 years old. We would be 12. I know it sounds weird, but we just would go everywhere together. We had a very attached style. So then as I grew up, even with my friends, I had to have somebody with me. And it wasn't up until, probably 2 years ago that I started really doing things on my own. I know that's crazy. That's why I'm saying healed Kareen now has no problem being alone. I love it. I look forward to it being alone, But before then, I I was clingy, but with specific people, if that makes sense. It's weird. It's a weird thing. But also comfortable in close relationships, like people holding your hands and all that stuff. Ability to self-reflect in partnerships. To be able to hold yourself accountable, to know when you were in the wrong or when you were in the right, or not even a wrong or right thing, but how to make things better or what is causing XYZ, right? Next, being easy to connect with, where you're not closed off, you're not unavailable, you're just vulnerable and easy to connect with. And next is ability to manage conflicts well. People can easily talk to you without worrying about you flying off the handle. And then they have a high self-esteem. And then they also have the ability to be emotionally available, which we just spoke about. So this is very, very healthy. And this is what, if you feel like, okay, this resonates with me, then comment below. This is definitely who I am now. And it's so easy. It's so nice to recognize that. But there was a time where I was at none of these things. And comment below if you've been on your healing journey, if you've been doing the work, if you've been subscribed here for a while, then I know you should be up here. Okay, if you've been here for a while, you've been one of my day ones, I know you should be up here, okay? Because we've been putting in the work, and I know y'all not just watching and not putting in the work, so yes. So how does that manifest in relationships, this attachment style? Securely attached people grow up feeling secure emotionally and physically and can engage in the world with others in a healthy way. As a result, people with secure attachment styles tend to navigate relationships well. They're generally positive, trusting, and loving to their partner. They trust their partner's intentions, and jealousy is often not an issue for them. Securely attached people feel that they're worthy of love and don't need external reassurance. Even if you didn't grow up like this, you develop that self-worth. If you haven't seen my video on how to attract love and all that, I'll put it in the comments for you guys, my favorite video on how, basically it's probably my story on how I developed a healthy attachment style also, to where I feel I deserve love and everyone around me genuinely loves and cares for me because I deserve it. But I didn't always feel like that. I didn't always believe that. But now that I believe that, like if I am with someone, I'm not constantly paranoid that they're cheating on me or they're stepping out on me or mistreating me. I don't deserve this. It's going to end. Like when good things come to me, I embrace it because I know I deserve it. But some people with the opposite attachment styles, they can feel like they don't deserve it. It's gonna go away, so they self-sabotage, etc. Jealousy tends to be rooted in insecurities when we feel like we don't really deserve something. And if we feel like we don't deserve it, then we feel like someone better is gonna come along and take it from us. And that's why I say the key to a lot of things, to stop people pleasing, to fix your attachment style issue, is always to bring up your self-esteem, to love yourself. And in this video, it's definitely going to help for you to balance that. What is an avoidant attachment style? Let's talk about the second attachment style. It's defined by failures to build long-term relationships with others due to an inability to engage in physical and emotional intimacy. How does it develop? In childhood, you may have had strict or emotionally distant and absent caregivers. Your caregivers may have, one, left you to fend for yourself, expected you to be independent, reprimanded you for depending on them, or rejected you when expressing your needs or emotions, been slow to respond to your basic needs. Kind of is like you're fending for yourself in a sense. So there is a sense of independence that come with that. You learn to do things that your mom was supposed to be teaching you and stuff around like cooking and your hair, makeup, all of those things. So if you had a parent who died when you were younger, you can tend to resonate from that too. Neglectful, abusive parents, detached parents, parents that were probably present but didn't really care or give you too much attention. Even rich kids that have parents that just give them with the nanny and then go away. Like you tend to develop this also. Comment below if you can relate with this attachment style and why. What was the reason? If you don't mind sharing. Was it because of a parent who was neglectful, that didn't care, that wasn't around? Or was it more so, hey, one of my parents died young, or maybe my parents were around but they didn't care as much, or hey, maybe I developed this as I got older because of other relationships? Because I do think, although primary with how you were grown up, how you were raised, but outside of the home, there's experiences that can kind of shift your attachment style, if that makes sense. Some avoidant producing parents are outright neglectful, but others are simply busy, slightly disinterested, and more concerned with things like grades, chores, or manners than feelings, hopes, dreams, or fears. As a result, children may learn to adopt a strong sense of independence so they don't have to rely on anyone else for care or support. Here's the signs that you may have an anxious avoidant attachment style. Is one, persistently avoid emotional or physical intimacy. Two is feel a strong sense of independence. You want to do things by yourself. You feel self-sufficient. Hey, it's me against the world. It's me and God. Okay, it's me and God. Three is you are uncomfortable expressing your feelings, where if you have a problem, you don't always want to rock the boat. It's better to be kept inside. You don't feel like people are going to understand you anyways, or you probably feel like people are not going to care. Are you dismissive of others? Do you dismiss other people's feelings? Have a hard time trusting people? Feel threatened by anyone who tries to get close to you? You are always suspicious. Anytime someone will get close to you, you're genuinely suspicious. Like, why? If someone wants to, let's go to lunch, let's do this, to being too friendly, I had to question it a lot. Why? Because you don't feel necessary that people like you or that you deserved good friends or people to genuinely want to be around you. So when you would get it, it could be a little hesitance, right? You spend more time alone than interacting with others. And you believe you don't need others in your life. Commitment issues, which, anxious, avoiding attached adults may tend to navigate relationships at arm's length. The need for emotional intimacy is simply lacking in this type of individual. So romantic relationships are not able to reach any level of depth. While they allow romantic partners to engage with them, they avoid getting emotionally close. A partner may feel as if they can never get inside and will inevitably be stonewalled or dismissed when a relationship feels too serious for the anxious avoidant partner. So it's kind of like you find reasons if you're dating someone for too long, and then you start to find reasons why it's not going to work. Let me not get too close. I'm probably not going to stay with this person for too long. You nitpick, you do all of these things, and then you have commitment issues. Like, it could be something simple as, oh, I don't like this person, the way they breathe, their nails. I don't like the way they stare at things. Or, I don't know, they just give me what's the word you guys use on TikTok? The ick. And it could be something real simple. And it's really stupid. And it's an unhealed person that really struggle with these things. It's like you're just looking for reasons to not commit. And you make all of these excuses. And it's just, Next is, what is an anxious attachment style? So anxious attachment style, also known as anxious ambivalent or anxious preoccupied, is another type of insecure attachment categorized by fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, depending on a partner for validation and emotional regulation, and codependent tendencies. It can be like a fear of abandonment. And when you have a busy parent that's trying to do it all, if one parent is absent or dead or whatever, you can feel rejected a lot because once that parent is really tired, they just don't have time for you. But kids don't understand it like that. We're not seeing, the sacrifice of work, this and that. You just feel rejected. Like, hey, I'm here, attention seeking. And that can create the people pleasing also in you because now you start to do things to get attention. And it just doesn't work out that way. And the codependent. So how does this attachment style develop? It stems from inconsistent parenting that isn't attuned to a child's needs. These children have difficulty understanding their caregivers and have no security. They're often confused with their parental relationships and feel unstable. Children with this attachment style experience very high distress when their caregivers leave. Sometimes the parents will be supportive and responsive to the child's needs, while at other times they will not be attuned to their children. If you have an anxious attachment style, Jordan notes that your parents may have also alternate between being overly coddling and detached or indifferent, been easily overwhelmed, been sometimes attentive, and then push you away, made you responsible for how they felt. Like you took the blame for their bad days, especially if they came home and, that drunken parent had a bad day at work and kind of put their wrath on the kids or on another parent and you're witnessing it, you kind of blame yourself and you that develops a people pleasing or anger too, where you blame yourself for their bad day. Basically, you feel responsible. Even if the parent probably is not even beating you, they're just moody in the house. They're never happy. They're dissatisfied with their life. Or you have a mom who constantly reminds you, I used to be sexy before I had you. Now look at my stretch marks. And they just complain about all the sacrifices they did. I could have been this. I could have modeled. I could have that if I didn't have you. That's kind of like the same thing. And you just feel so responsible for their messed up, trashy life that you're like, dang, I just wish I never would have been born. And you can develop this attachment style also. These children often grow up thinking they are supposed to take care of other people's feelings and often become codependent and people pleasers. Those people with the attachment style, if you are a people pleaser, this is most likely the attachment style you have. Comment below what was the circumstances for you growing up that you feel developed that. Was it more of like, hey, my mom blamed me for everything? Or if you're comfortable sharing, or Was it more of just my parents were there, they were doing the best they could, but they just worked a lot. So they weren't there. And so I had to be more independent and fend for myself, etc. So here's the signs you might have anxious attachment style. It includes clingy tendencies, highly sensitive to criticism, real or perceived. You just cannot take criticism, needing approval from others, jealous tendencies, difficulty being alone, low self-esteem, feeling unworthy of love, intense fear of rejection, significant fear of abandonment, and difficulty trusting others. Yeah. Oh my goodness, this is so sad. And once you know these, you can kind of see it in others. And that's why when you see people like have certain traits and you're like, ask them about their childhood, it can make sense. Like, oh, okay, this is how I can always tell how someone was raised, or just based off their attachment style, just seeing how they interact. If they struggled with jealousy, a lot of people that struggled the most with jealousy were foster kids. That's crazy. But I've noticed that and just wanting things because there wasn't really any stability in that sense for them with a parent. Even if you were in a home, with someone, it just doesn't feel like yours, if you get what I'm saying. So they can be very highly sensitive also. It's just sad. So I can always tell a lot. Like, usually if I see someone's really struggling with one particular thing, I'll ask some questions about their childhood, and then you're like, okay, yeah, it can confirm the attachment style. And then you'll better know how to be a little bit more sensitive in your approach, the way you talk to them, and just how to handle people with care, if that makes sense. The better we understand people, the more we can handle them with care. How does it manifest in relationships? According to people with anxious attachment style usually feel unworthy of love and need constant reassurance from their partners. They often blame themselves for challenges in a relationship and can exhibit frequent and intense jealousy or distrust due to poor self-esteem. Ultimately, there's a deep-rooted fear of being abandoned, rejected, or alone, and those fears typically express themselves in these ways. So this is a people that typically like words of affirmation also. If we're talking about the 5 love languages, that ask you, what are we, a lot. They need you to verbalize it. They need validation. They need reassurance. You need to handle them with care. They're very, very fragile. Until they heal, they're not secure. They constantly feel like you might be cheating on them or stepping out on them. They don't feel like they even deserve your love. What is a disorganized attachment style? Is defined as having extremely inconsistent behavior and difficulty trusting others. How does it develop? The most common causes of disorganized attachment styles are childhood trauma, neglect or abuse, fear of their parents. Their sense of safety is also present. Children with this attachment style may seem confused. Caregivers are inconsistent and are often seen as sources of comfort and fear by their children, which leads to their disorganized behavior. It's like inconsistent. One minute they're hot and they're cold. One minute they shower you with love, then they can be unsafe. They hit you. They just say that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a parent. It could be a guardian, a figure like aunts or uncles, where one minute they gave you attention, they loved you, they cared for you, and the next they were just smacking you for no reason, disinterested and stuff like that. And then with the safety thing, I also think, because it's not, caregivers can be your teachers if you spend most of your time in school as a kid, right? So if in school you are getting bullied, your teachers, you were explaining to your teachers, or they saw they did nothing, no one cared. Some teachers would care, some teachers wouldn't care. No one really seemed like they were really protecting you, although some would. It was just very inconsistent. That is a thing too. It's like the figures in your life, how did they treat your trauma and stuff like that? Of course, this goes into being touched without your consent. Most people that were touched without their consent have this attachment style, or those type of traumas that were beaten also have this attachment style. Now, what are the signs of a disorganized attachment style? It includes fear of rejection, inability to regulate your emotions, your anger, to control it, to talk to people, contradictory behaviors, high levels of anxiety, difficulty trusting others, signs of both avoidant and anxious attachment. Jordan notes that this type is also associated with mental health conditions in adulthood, including mood disorders, personality disorders, self-harm, and substance use disorders. Most people that you guys would label a quote-unquote narcissist, psychopath, all of those terms tend to have this attachment style because of the trauma, which is, I feel, and The Body Keeps the Score, the book, he puts a lot of emphasis on therapy, how it gets a lot of people out of that state of mind. A lot of people that have mental illnesses can't even reverse it by just talking, letting it out, healing. really transform you, where you don't need the medications and all of those things. Yes, oftentimes it is a chemical imbalance, but oftentimes it is just trauma. It is just trauma. So how it manifests in relationships, people with disorganized attachment styles tend to have unpredictable and confusing behavior. Jordan says they alternate between being aloof and independent and being clingy and emotional. While they desperately seek love, they also push partners away because of the fear of love, says people. They believe that they'll always be rejected, but they don't avoid emotional intimacy. They fear it, and they also consistently seek it out at the same time, only to reject it again, hot and cold. They perceive their partners as unpredictable, and they themselves behave in unpredictable ways within their relationships as they continue to wrestle between a need for security and fear. I think this is so important to know your attachment style and how you're going to overcome. It's really, really going to help in dealing with others. Like I said, the only way to really be empathetic of someone is to be able to understand them and put yourself in their shoes. And I feel like understanding people's love language, their attachment style. I do videos on these topics and stuff because I mostly feel most of my channel is just understanding people. Because by understanding others, you understand yourself. And the more you understand others, the more you understand yourself. And understanding human nature just makes you a lot more compassionate and loving. And I feel like it's so cliche. What I'm about to say is so cliche. Oh my goodness, you guys probably heard it a lot of times. But love is really the cure for the state of the world. So much could have been avoided if people were just loved as kids. To be loved. That is the cure for a lot. I'm not saying that there's people that were loved that are still weird, that are still, I'm not saying that. But really, probably 99% of our world could use a little bit more love. And I think we could be a lot more loving if we just understood how people work and just understood them. And it helps you to also not be manipulated, not take things personally, to better communicate, to be more vulnerable, to be open, to be able to commit a little bit better, to just have a secure attachment style. That is the goal for this year. Happy healing. I love you guys so much. If you watched this long, leave a brown heart in the comments since I'm wearing brown, or a red heart to have red lips on today. I love you guys so much. Comment below your thoughts and share with a friend, and thumbs up. Until next time.